Hello everyone, welcome back to the Capablanca saga. We are back at the 1914 tournament of St. Petersburg, and Capablanca faces the World Chess Champion Emanuel Lasker for the third time in his life. First time in the 1914 tournament of St. Petersburg, second time also here in the second part of the tournament. Both games ended in a draw, even though Capablanca was better. He was really much better in the first game. In the second game, he was better, but not really sure how he could have gone for something more than a draw. And here, again, he has a chance with the black pieces. Let's see how he does. And Capablanca is having, we could say, a perfect tournament so far, keeping in mind that this is one of the strongest tournaments ever held. Also, as you can see, the World Chess Champion also attending without a single loss so far. Capablanca, Lasker only one loss in the beginning of the tournament, but here in the second part of the tournament, we already mentioned 5 of the players are continuing this second leg of the tournament. They are going into a double round robin, and Capablanca went into the second part of the tournament being a point and a half in the lead, so that goes into the second part of the tournament as well. So Capablanca has a huge advantage here, but Emanuel Lasker, he's having an excellent second part of the tournament. So Capablanca, before facing Lasker here for the third time, in the second part of the tournament, 2 wins and 2 draws, and Lasker 3 wins and 1 draw. So he managed to lower the lead of Capablanca to Lasker by 1 point. So here Lasker also has a great opportunity to equalize with Capablanca. And also I would just like to mention that it's the first of the month, so do check out that YouTube has not unsubscribed you against your will. As you know, you might be just watching and never commenting, and then YouTube might get the idea that you are an inactive subscriber, and then YouTube will unsubscribe you against your will. YouTube algorithms work in mysterious ways, but just in case, do check. And also, we are not going to have a third game between Lasker and Capablanca without some epic music, so first thing you will see in the description below, a link to some epic music. Do check it out to get in the mood for this game. Sorry about that. Lasker has the white pieces, and he opens with e4. Now, of course, Capablanca already challenged Lasker once after his 1911 San Sebastian victory, and of course, he studied Lasker's games. He even published some of the games from the match Lasker Schlechter in the magazine Capablanca was chief editor of, so not something Lasker can really surprise Capablanca with. So it's very interesting what Lasker will choose here. We have e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and now bishop to b5. Lasker goes for the Ruy Lopez. We have a6, Morphy's defense by Capablanca, bishop captures, d captures, and now d4. And it's very interesting, Capablanca even mentioned about this line for white, that it doesn't really give white anything, giving up the bishop pair so early that it should only favor black. E captures, we have queen captures. Lasker already on move 6 offers the queen, and well, it's not really, we can't really call it an endgame right away since there are so many pieces on the board. But Lasker playing Capablanca's game against Capablanca. So queen captures, knight captures, and now the most standard idea today would be bishop to d7, but then Capablanca went for bishop to d6. And okay, we have knight to c3. You're fighting for the e5 square. If you go something like f4, then f6 is an idea still. Nothing to be worried about here with black. So instead, knight to c3 by Lasker, knight to e7 by Capablanca, and now both players castle. We have f4 by Lasker, and now rook to e8. Capablanca not worried about any e5 ideas. And here, knight to b3. And this is only move 11, but it's interesting, after this Lasker's knight to b3 move, this position has never again been repeated in tournament chess, or this position is only available in the database via this game. So f6 by Capablanca, we have now f5, limiting the mobility of Capablanca's bishop, and also preparing bishop to f4 to trade the dark square bishops, and Lasker's plan is to leave Capablanca with the bad bishop here. So b6, Capablanca's idea is to develop the light square bishop via bishop to b7, and then push c5, and this will make the light square bishop come alive. Bishop to f4 by Lasker, and here the idea that Capablanca missed that that most likely haunted him for a very long time is that he should have gone for bishop captures, and only after rook captures play c5, which then allows him to develop the light square bishop very nicely, and also, more importantly, he would take away the d4 square from Lasker's knight. But here Capablanca went the bishop to b7 immediately. Seemingly it has no difference, but it does. The difference is huge. Here Lasker plays bishop captures, we have c captures, and now knight to d4, pressuring the c6 pawn, but also threatening knight to e6. And here is one of those moments when you play a chess game where you don't want to admit that your bishop to b7 move wasn't all that impressive, where you should go back, simply bishop to c8, cover that square, and only then kick the knight back with c5. But here Capablanca continues the game pretending like bishop to b7 was an alright move. We have rook 8 to e8 by Capablanca, and now knight to e6 by Lasker. An excellent outpost for the knight, attacking the rook here, rook to d7, and now rook 8 to d1. And here d6 is a very weak pawn, the d5 square very nicely controlled by Lasker. Lasker will most likely either double rooks by rook d and then rook here, or rook f2 to d2, and will go after the weak d6 pawn. So Capablanca needs to do something about this. We have knight to c8. Now the knight is defending the d6 pawn, so there will be no problems here, and also the rook is controlling the g7 pawn, so no rook lifting ideas are possible here by Lasker. We have rook to f2, preparing to double up on the d file, b5 by Capablanca, and now rook f to d2, going after this pawn, which is now defended by the knight, but now the knight really doesn't have all that much activity. We have rook d to e7 now, and now b4, taking away all the a5 and c5 moves from Capablanca, and king to f7. We have a3 by Lasker, and now bishop to a8, making room for this rook to come to a7. Capablanca will look for some activity via the a5 move. We have king to f2. Lasker starts improving the position of the king. Rook to a7, and now g4. We have h6 by Capablanca. Now comes rook to d3, and now a5, busting open here on the queen side. h4 by Lasker. A captures on b4, a captures on b4, and now the rook goes back, as there's really not all that much to do on the queen side. We have king to f3. Lasker keeps improving the position of his king, and now rook to g8, preparing g6. We have king to f4. Lasker winning more space with the king, and now g6. Of course, you cannot capture, as the knight would hang here. So we have rook to g3 by Lasker. Here, there is an interesting engine line for Lasker, but it's a very, very long and complicated line that starts with g5, but it's a very nice line. So we'll just show it, to see that it's actually there. After g5, now there's the threat of rook coming over here, and then you will capture on g6 and then force a discovered check. So black would have to deal with this. H captures, and after rook to h8, now comes rook to g3 with the idea of pawn captures, not immediately as the knight is still undefended. F captures on g5 with check, rook captures on g5, now threatening to capture here and bring the other rook to g1, and after rook to h6, now you would have rook to a1, preparing to win the bishop here. Rook a7 blocking, now knight to d8 check, king to f6, and now rook captures on a7. Knight captures, and here after f captures on g6, rook captures on g6, rook f5 check, king to e7, and now you would get rook to f7 check, and after captures, it would seem the dark square bishop is lost. That's with optimal play from both sides, but it's a really exhausting engine line. I just wanted to point it out that it in fact was there. But okay, Lasker first prepares g5 with rook to g3, and now Capablanca doesn't want Lasker to push g5, so he pushes g5 himself. We have king back to f3, getting out of check, and now knight to b6. If you capture here just rook to h3, white does not have a problem here. So knight to b6, and now h captures on g5. H captures on g5 and rook to h3. Now winning the h-file, preparing to do this very nice rook lift. Rook to d7, making some room for the king to be able to move around, and now king to g3. Also possible is rook to h7 check, and after the king moves, now rook to h6 will be very strong. where the king will have to go back to defend, and now white will just drastically improve the position of the rook. But Lasker goes for king to g3, we have king to e8, and now comes rook d to h1. With completely winning the h file. We have bishop to b7. Capablanca's bishop still locked in, not a lot to do with the light square bishop. And now a beautiful move by Lasker, which really brings a lot of activity into the game. The knight on c3 is not, one would say, optimally placed, but it prevents black from ever pushing c5 due to the b5 pawn being lost. But here Lasker plays e5, and now the knight is coming into the game via the square e4. So there's not all that much to do here. You have to either capture or push c5. If you push c5, then rook to h8 is very strong here. You give up the rook on h1 for the rook on g8. And after bishop captures, rook captures with check, king e7. Now you go e captures on f6, king captures, and b captures on c5. After d captures, knight captures here, now attacking the rook, and also rook to g6 is a threat, where you could win the knight here. So after black prevents this, or knight g5 also is playable. Rook to g6 would be a threat once again. After the king moves, now you pick up another pawn, and now you just end up in this endgame where white is winning, being up to two connected pass pawns. So after this e5 move, Capablanca decides d captures on e5. It doesn't matter if he decided to capture with the f pawn. The e4 square is still freed for Lasker's knight. So knight to e4. And here, knight captures on f6 is a threat with the double fork, so Capablanca has to defend it. Knight to d5, defending the f6 pawn. But now knight 6 comes to c5. There you have it, attacking the bishop and the rook. And it's interesting, Lasker waited until Capablanca plays this waiting move, bishop to b7 to push e5. So this knight landing on c5 would come with an attack on the bishop here. So the bishop is under attack, the rook is under attack. If you move the rook, let's say rook c7, you can either capture and then go knight d6 check, or just knight d6 check. Now comes with a double attack against the bishop on b7 and wins the piece. After the king moves, let's say king f8, now you just win it. The knight defends knight. So after knight to c5, Capablanca played bishop to c8, but there was no good way of saving the rook. Or any way for that matter. Lasker captures the rook, we have bishop captures, and now rook to h7. And it's not just that Lasker is up the exchange. Okay, Capablanca is up a pawn, so maybe if the bishop could come alive, maybe there could be some counterplay, but it's just still a very, very bad bishop. Rook to f8 by Capablanca, and now rook to a1, threatening some checkmating ideas with rook to a8. We have king to d8 by Capablanca, and now rook to a8 check. Bishop blocks with c8, and here Lasker just played knight to c5, and it was in this position that Jose Raul Capablanca resigned the game. This is his first loss in the 1914 tournament of St. Petersburg, and his first loss ever against world chess champion Emanuel Lasker. Definitely a tough blow for Capablanca, who was having the perfect tournament without a single loss so far. But here now with a loss against Emanuel Lasker, and as we already mentioned, that Lasker lowered the lead of Capablanca from the first part of the tournament to only 1 point. Here with this win, Lasker equalizes, and this is a huge psychological victory for Lasker, who went into the second part of the tournament being down 1.5 points, and it will be. Well, I can only imagine that it was very stressful. But we will mention some details from Capablanca's book about this event and about the games that follow. But Lasker mentioned that the few people that were watching the game as it was unfolding into this beautiful finish. After Capablanca knocked down his king, there was this huge applause, and everyone was just thrilled about the game. To mention why did he resign, there's no move black can make. Whatever move you make, there's no good move to show what you could do. But let's say any move, then bishop is pinned, you just go knight b7 checkmate, or you can even choose rook to d7 checkmate, the bishop is still pinned. So there's really no way to avoid all of the threats. That's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it, and it's very interesting. If we go back just a little bit to this bishop to f4 idea, where Capablanca played bishop to b7. This bishop to b7 proved to be the decisive mistake that allowed Lasker this much activity. Just bishop captures, rook captures, and c5 prevents the knight from ever coming to d4 and taking this beautiful outpost on e6. Capablanca would just develop, and the game continues. But this is not the main point of the game. The main point of the game is that Lasker was able to in a tournament where he's a whole point against behind Jose Raul Capablanca, he needed to catch up to him. He needed to beat him. And how do you beat him? You don't want to go into any complications that arise from the Queen's Gambit declined or from the Tarrasch defense. So how do you do it? You go into this positional opening that Capablanca himself already said that didn't really give anything for white. You give Capablanca the bishop pair early on, and there Capablanca has a position where he's the one who should be looking for advantage, but Capablanca obviously felt too safe in the position. He was already leading a full point in the tournament, and you know, it's like Lasker hypnotized Capablanca and allowed for this beautiful victory to be you know, achieved. It's just amazing how Lasker accomplished such a feat. I mean, it's really remarkable. But yeah, as I said, after we show, there are 3 more games Capablanca played in this tournament, so then we're going to go over some details, and we're going to go back to this moment, and so on and so on. So make sure to follow the saga until the end. So yeah, once again, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Barry McMurdoch, John Edwardson, Kevin Strange, Dan Pontone, and Michael Henrik for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, hopefully with some more interesting content. We'll be checking up on what's happening in the world, and of course, continuing the Capablanca saga. So yeah, thank you all, and I will see you soon. Have an excellent rest of your Friday.